So how did you get involved in it? At which point did you come on board? And
just at the very beginning, where they'd kind of launched the idea of it, and I went in to see Gillian, who runs the company, and she said, no, I showed her a script and I said, I'd really like to make this, and she said, yes, it's very good, however we have this, and would you be interested in this? And the thing is, it's so difficult to get a feature film made in Scotland, that you say yes to anything. That's what you do, you know, absolutely. And I mean, just to give you an example of how hard it is, Colin and I have been, we've developed 10 feature film scripts, and got very, very close with about 3 of them, and this is the one that we managed to make. But I have to say, he's done some extraordinary scripts in the past. I mean, you know, things like we had one which was very, very strange, and it provoked such a strong reaction that somebody said, I never want to see a film like this be made in Scotland, where a woman turned into an ape, and it upset everybody, and everything, evolution started going backwards. And you see, so I mean, the thing is, like, you know, we've done something very kind of social realist, but the thing is, what people don't realise is that as a filmmaker you have many, many more ambitions, you know.
So what kind of things did you grow up watching? What are your influences?
Well, it's funny because I didn't really kind of have the passion for film until I was older. I used to watch war films when I was little and get really involved, which is strange. But, you know, I mean, for me, the filmmakers that I love that really inspire me, like Tarkovsky, Kubrick, Bergman, Fellini. I mean, I love comedy and I love tragedy, but I also like it when film transcends what you feel you can know of the world, which I think people like Kubrick does with 2001, you know what I mean? And I love the diversity of what Kubrick does as well, and I kind of like, that's an ambition I have for myself. I'd love to do science fiction, you know?
Because I don't think you get that with directors. Arguably the Coen brothers are one of the few who does it, where directors work in different genres all the time. They tend to be very quickly pigeonholed.
Yes.
What has been the result of Donkeys? Where are you heading now? What are people coming to you with? And
to be honest, it was again life determining what happened, because I'm actually now working on a documentary. And that is a very sad subject matter, but a friend of mine, when he was 33, was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and as he came towards the end, his father died of it, his grandfather died of it, and he has a 1.5-year-old son who's got a 50-50 chance of developing it over time. There's no cure at all, there's nothing. And he was so, I mean, by the time we started filming, he was paralysed from the neck down, and it was all he could do. It was kind of like, if you imagine the frustration of not being able to do anything, the one thing he could do was make a film. And so, I mean, I got my friend Emma, who's a documentary filmmaker, to come in, and basically she insisted that I be part of it, because she wasn't going to do it if I wasn't going to be part of it. So we've made the film, and now we're kind of, it's going to be what you call a creative documentary, because there's some narration in it, and from a blog that he wrote, and family archive, and we're investigating the science of it, because just 10 days after he died, there was one of the biggest breakthroughs in the research there's ever been, which is they found one of the genes that causes it. So I've just, out of what happens in life, and I think that's kind of right for filmmaking, that life informs what you do, because then it's meaningful to you. And I think it should, I mean, not to be all kind of po-faced and overly, sort of dramatic about it, but I just think that it's nice when you have a passion for it and it stems from you. I mean, I think everything should come from a personal place to a certain degree, because then you have got a proper passion for it.
So I'm going to throw a quote on that note. I'm going to throw a quote at you, where you said you became a film director by accident.
Oh, now what did I mean? I think I went to art college, and I didn't, because you wouldn't think it, but I'm actually quite shy, and the idea of, I mean, when you're film directing, you're operating in front of a vast amount of people who are all looking to you and saying what do you want to do next, and it's terrifying. And so I went to art college, I did sculpture and realised this is too lonely. I need to be around people. And then I saw some Tarkovsky films and went, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that with film. That's extraordinary. And then I changed to film, made my first film, and it was terrifying. But I loved it. And the thing is, it is terrifying if you're not a naturally extrovert person. But the thing is that the desire to do it overcomes the fear, and you just get on with it, basically. So it wasn't exactly a deliberate thing. It was just like one sidestep after another that took me there.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right. So overriding desire, bypassing fear. So how did the success of Red Road affect Donkeys? How were you? Because that was a incredibly
massive.
Loaded, huge. You know, it shouldn't really call it a huge hit. It's not that type of film, but you know, incredibly well received, highly praised. Did that scare you? Did it excite you?
I just think it didn't scare me, and it didn't. I think the thing is, you know, there's a certain place where you just have to be pragmatic and go, that is what it is, and what will be, and I'll do the best I can. And the thing is, you know, it's like they say about life, it's not a competition, it's not a race. It's all, if you do the best you can, that's all you can do, and you're on your own journey, you know. So I don't see it as, I mean, I am so happy. I think Andrea's an amazing woman, and it's a brilliant film, and she deserves that the plaudits entirely. But everything has its own place and its own time, and one has different levels of learning, and you just have to kind of deal with that. I mean, for me, I think the thing that I've most learned from this process is that, you know, up until this point, I very much was given what I wanted as a director, and I've never had to fight for anything. And then when you do have to fight for it, you realise you don't have the tools. Right. So in a sense, you know, I think that there's a learning curve in everything. So and I'm not going to spend my life beating myself up. I'm just going to learn. I'm going to sort of progress.
So this whole idea of humour we were talking about earlier, did you always see it as, not, I think funny kind of trivialises the you know, the lightness and the humour in it. Did you always see it that way, and how did you capture that? Because as I say, this, you know, the great bit when they get in the car and they end up at the hospital, and that kind of payoff. How do you make sure there's humour in there where an audience potentially won't see it for 3 or 4 months, 6 months, 9 months? How do you pull that together when you're filming it, editing it?
I think the thing is, like, you read the script and you find it funny for yourself, and it's not a big analysis thing. I think that you know, Ricky Gervais talks about the humour of recognition. You know, it's not kind of like presented in a big way. It's not sort of trying to spoon feed you the humour. It's just that way where you kind of go, you recognise it within yourself. Not that you yourself are like that, but you just have. I like when you have situations that you as a human being can read, and it's much more gratifying to be able to read something for yourself rather than to be told. And the thing is, both Colin and I are very much big fans of like having an active audience, and that's not, you know, because if you just give, then there's no activity. Whereas if there's something to be read in there, which is basically its kind of subtlety, then it's much more exciting, I think, and that's what that's what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I think the performances reveal that, because there's no punchline over egged in there. Everything's there.
I mean, it's maybe a bit erring on subtle, some people have said, but